All right, guys, really quick before we get into today's interview and upload, some very happy news. I finally worked with the company that does the merch, and my merch is available. Finally, you should see underneath the video a listing of my merch. There is 12 different items, ranging from coffee mugs to hoodies, t-shirts, and whatnot. I just wanted to let everyone know that finally it is back up. I don't know what happened, and they couldn't tell me what happened either. Actually, the rep that I was working with could not figure out why my merch had gotten taken down. She was baffled, and it took almost a week and a couple days to get back up after I had redesigned it and put it back up. It was under review for about 9 days. So, yeah, it's up and I am super excited. Actually, I just ordered my first sweatshirt of my own. I've never bought any merch from myself, but I bought my first hoodie. So, also, I am going to Horicon, New York today. And like I said, I'm working on this video in remembrance for Tom Messick, 6 years on the 15th. And please keep me in your prayers today because I'm going to be doing some really, really intense walking around and just investigative research. And I'm a little creeped out. So, anyway, keep me in your prayers. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the video. Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have a subscriber from Georgia who is coming to share his terrifying experiences in the woods of Georgia with a Dogman and a Sasquatch. Before we get into this, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a guest who has been on once before. His name is Jeff. He is from Georgia. He wanted to come back and share his experiences because he was pretty nervous the first time. And he kind of just wanted to take the time to share without his nerves being sky high. So, Jeff, how are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful, Jeff. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I appreciate you coming back and taking the time out of your evening to share with us your
Not a problem.
experiences. So, right now, Jeff, I'm going to turn the floor over to you because it's your time to share your experiences with us.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you, Jeff.
No worries.
Let's see. My name is Jeff. I live in the Middle Georgia area. When I was between the ages of 17 to 20, me and my friends used to go out to a certain spot in the woods and hold bonfires, drink, have a good old time. And one of my friends, thought, let's start bringing our girlfriends and their girlfriends out here, so and see if we can scare them. And when I first started going out there, there used to be this legend that some people had camped at the boat landing over a long weekend, and the only thing that was left at the end of the long weekend were their dogs. The cops came up on the site because no one came home. There was, I guess, a report that nobody came home from the camping trip, and the cops rolled up on the site. The tents and everything were trashed. The fire was completely out. Their vehicles were all dented and scratched up, and their dogs that they took with them were cowering under the vehicles. I don't know if it's a true story. I don't know if it's somebody made up, but that was the legend that I always heard. And of course, at that point in time, I heard all kinds of stories about Bigfoot, but I never really thought that Bigfoot was real at that point.
Right.
And we'd go out there and when the months get cooler, and we turn around and set bonfires up. Then I would sneak out into the woods, dress up in a scary outfit, usually as look like a dead soldier, skeleton mask, hands, and ripped up combat uniforms. And we'd do this at least a couple times a month, just for the heck of it, on the weekends. And we'd make sure we would do it in the cooler part of the year because I didn't want to have to walk around and step on an alligator or snake or anything. And we would get out there and prepare the area by raking down a pathway to certain trees so no one can hear me walk through the woods. I wouldn't be stepping on branches or sticks or leaves or nothing. We'd have it all set up to about 5 different trees. I could walk the entire path backwards. And we did this for years. And it was always a good old time, after the girls that we would bring out there, or anyone I was scaring the crap out of came out there, they realized it was nothing but good fun. And then, of course, by the end of the night, we'd be drinking and just camp out there for the night. Well, it was in late October '93. One night, me and my buddy got out there to prepare the site, so we could get everything taken care of and, have a good old time. I got the path raked. I was setting up the glow sticks on the back of the tree as markers, so I knew exactly what tree to be at and exactly when to be able to jump out and start scaring people. Well, I get to the last tree and start walking backwards. Now, I've done this, back and forth, raking the area so no one could hear me more than a few times. And as I'm getting near to the last tree, I see the little stone cinder block piece that I placed, which means I have about 5 or 6 more feet to the last spot to where I hide and start to wait for them. Well, I pass a stone, and all of a sudden, I take about 1.5 feet past the stone, walking backwards, and I run into a tree. Or at least I think I run into a tree. So I stop and think about it a second. I'm like, okay, well, I may need to move the stone. Maybe my buddy hit it when he was helping clear the path. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't even worry about looking behind me because I've done it before. So I go back to the tree that I'm looking at with the glow stick on the back of it, and I start counting the steps back again, and again I bump into a tree. And I'm kind of curious because I know that I've at least got about anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 more steps to go before I get to my hiding spot. And about that time is when I realized that there can't be a tree there. There's a possibility that I may have backed in a black bear, or I don't know what 100% sure I backed into. So I kind of look up and get a good shot when we're looking behind me, and I've got this thing staring straight down at me. And my first thought running through my head was, we've been doing this for a while, and I've always been the one that's scaring people, and I'm looking at something that looks like someone's in a really big gorilla suit.
Hmm.
And I'm not 100% sure. And of course, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, every horror movie statistic. And then I'm going, wait a second, someone's finally got me. Someone finally figured, they know what was going on tonight. They got out here. They're going to scare the crap out of me for the first time.
Yeah, like the trick works both ways.
Yeah. So, I'm calming myself down. I look back straight up at the thing, and I'm still not facing it. And this thing's looking down at me, and I go to pull off my mask.
You're still in the skeleton like
Yeah.
mask, yeah.
And this thing, literally, every time I think about it, it gives me shivers. This thing looks at me like when I start pulling the mask off, like, ugh, what are you doing? It even makes the face like, ugh. And wow. The moment it made the face, I realized that this wasn't a person in a mask. There's no way in God's little green earth that this was a person in a mask. And I pulled the mask the rest of the way off, and I've got it in one hand, and I'm staring at him, basically upside down. And that's about the time I'm hearing him breathing now, and I'm just kind of panicked and just stuck in fear there for a moment. And then I lower my head where I can see straight. And of course, again, every horror statistic or movie cliche is running through my head. And I just kind of lower my hand with the mask in. I take off my gloves. And, it didn't make any aggressive moves to me. So I wait about a minute, maybe a minute, 30 seconds, and I start slowly just walking away, hoping that this thing does not reach up and grab me.
Right.
Because this is the last thing. And I know it could, if I ran, it could chase me down because there was no way I was going to get away from it by running. But I got about 10 feet away from it, and I heard a twig break. And about the time I heard that twig break, I bolted in a sprint, running as fast as I could. I told my buddy to haul ass because there was something behind me. And he looks up. He sees what I was just looking at. He runs and gets in his truck. I run to the truck. I'm trying to get in. He has to unlock the door. He forgot to unlock it. I'm freaking out a little bit. We've got to go down and turn around at the boat ramp, so we've got to come back past the area where this thing is sitting. It didn't chase me. We didn't see it on the way out. My heart was racing 90 to nothing. And that's all we could talk about on the way home. He's like, well, what the hell was that? I'm like, I'm not sure what the hell that was. I just described what I thought it looked like and realized that as I'm talking about it, I had dropped my mask and my gloves in the woods. And of course, he's like, you want to go back from him? I'm like, no, I don't want to go back from him. He can keep it. I'm done. No, go home.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I get back to my house at night, and I'm trying to make sure I've calmed down because last thing I want is my parents asking me questions about what's going on. Why do I look like I just seen a ghost? So I walk in the house. And then I walk in the house. My dad's watching TV in the living room, and he gets this funny look on his face, and he looks at me, and without much of a facial expression, he goes, "You've seen one." I'm like, "Seen one what?" He goes, "You know what I mean." He goes, "You smell like one of those things." He goes, "You've seen one." And I'm like, I said, "What do you think I saw?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Hold on." So we went outside to the garage, and he goes, "You saw Bigfoot." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm guessing that's what I saw." I'm still, I'm a little bit in shock at that point.
Right, yeah.
He goes, "I don't care. Strip your ass down all the way. You smell horrible, and burn those clothes. Go take a shower, burn those clothes, including the shoes." I'm like, well, why? He goes, just do as I told. So I stripped down, put everything into a metal trash can, and I went to take a shower, and my dad burned everything.
Very smart man.
Yeah. Well, I get out of the shower, and he's like, what the hell were you doing tonight? And I said, well, doing the same thing we normally do, every couple weekends. He goes, okay, you were out at the boat landing. I'm like, yeah. He goes, is that where you ran into it? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, if you wanted to burn those things can track their own smell up to between 15 and 20 miles. He's had people in his company, because he was Fifth Mob, he taught combat communications for his entire military career.
Okay.
And even after he retired, he was still taught combat communications. And I'm like, well, how do you know what these things smell like, Dad? And he's like, he goes, well, when they were doing, when he was a lot younger man, and they did training in Sierra Nevada area, their squad ran into these things. He never personally saw them, but flashes. But he said the smell is just unforgettable.
Right.
And he said he had a gentleman in the unit with him that lay down in an area where it looked like deer had been bedding. And when they got done with what they were doing that night, they all went back to the barracks, and this thing tracked them from where the bedding area was back to the barracks. He said it did nothing but throw rocks and stuff at the windows and the side of the place all night. It would smack it. They heard god-awful horrible yelling. It didn't sound natural to them.
Right.
Because that's how he knows.
Now,
and I'm like,
when you came home, did you tell your dad like that you backed into it?
Not at first, but he did ask me to go through the entire story.
Okay.
And when I told him I backed into it, he, the first thing out of his mouth was, "You lucky damn thing didn't just grab you and rip you in half."
Yeah, yeah.
And then he asked me if I was in the full get up, and I said, yeah. And I said, then when I took the mask off, the thing looked at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's crazy. And it actually made the face like, what is this? What is he doing?
Yeah.
What is this thing doing?
And I mean, it
was almost like it was in shock, just like you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would have reacted the same way if it looked like someone was ripping off their face.
Yeah, yeah.
Knew to, take, strip down and burn everything. I would never thought of that. Hell, up until that night, all I thought Bigfoot was nothing more than a folk tale or lore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I never gave it a second thought at that point, up until that day.
Wow, that's crazy. That is absolutely insane. That, just the fact that you backed into it and had such a close encounter, and that you could see its face contort to when you were, react to what you were doing, on top of going home and having, that surprise. Your dad springs this on you that he knows what they are, he knows what it smells like. And I mean, that must have been a very, very mentally struggling evening for you.
Yeah. And my dad literally, he literally had the front seat pulled out of his van and changed out, because that's what I drove home from my friend's house was, of course, the front seat of his minivan at that point, in time, and he literally had the front seat completely removed and replaced.
Wow. That is insane. So you've had a couple of other encounters after this as well?
Well, the Dogman encounter I had would actually be considered well before.
Okay.
Because I was between 17 and 19, My Dogman encounter happened when I was 14, and literally, I honestly thought it was a dream up until I had my encounter with Sasquatch.
Right.
But me and my friends are out late, way past curfew, and as we're going, back, I'm stopping at all my friends' house so they can turn around and leave, and of course, I'm the very last one, and of course, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 in the morning, and I turn around the corner, and as I'm turning the corner, I see a cop car coming. Of course, he got me with his headlights, and instead of having my parents woke up, I bolted into the section of woods that we had right in the middle of town. Nowadays, it's a neighborhood.
Okay.
And I bolted as deep into the woods as I could. It was kind of an overcast night. It was full moon. And I'm just walking, and of course, I saw the floodlights from the car peering into the woods, so I know a path that goes by a cemetery. And I'm just like, I'm just going to go as far as I can, make sure I don't get caught. I'm good. And of course, as I'm walking in these woods, I can hear something walking behind me. So I got a little flashlight on me. This is before, flashlights on a cell phone.
Right.
I'm looking around. I can't see anything. So I just turn around, pick up my pace some more, and I keep on hearing something. It's either behind me or it's off to the right of me. I begin to think, possibly, maybe one of the cops came into the woods and they're following me. Because at this point, I still see nothing.
Right, and that's a logical explanation. I mean, what else are you gonna think at that point?
Yeah. But I come to an area where there's a section of trees that just opened up on the inside of the woods, and I can see the moon coming out from under the clouds. And I'm just like, okay, well, I get a bit of moonlight, and I hear something behind me still, and I manage to look behind me and take a look, and I get this silhouette, what looks like just a really big dog. And at that point in time, my neighborhood, we had 3 stray German Shepherds that people just abandoned. Very sweet dogs, but you couldn't, they're always out there one way or the other.
Right.
So I figured, okay, that's got to be one of those German Shepherds. And I'm walking down. I see the second entrance to be able to get out of the woods, and I start to walk to try to get out the woods, and I still see the silhouette of this dog behind me, and then I see another cop car at that section of the woods, and they're scanning the tree lines with their floodlights. So I move a little deeper into the woods as fast as I can so I don't get seen, to go out at the third entrance and just haul butt as fast as I can. As I'm moving, I realize that this dog that's following me, I'm catching glimpses of eye shine. I'm catching glimpses of the moonlight glistening off his teeth. And it's going from about a 3.5 to 4 foot height on all fours to slowly getting taller than me.
Now, when you said you were seeing eye shine, what was it? Like a yellow eye shine or a red eye shine, or?
I saw one of my dogs has a blue eye.
Mm-hmm.
And his eye shine was exactly like him. I saw one yellow eye and one red eye.
Okay.
But I think at this point in time myself, I've got to be imagining this.
Yeah.
So I'm picking up the pace. I got as fast as I could. It stayed literally about 4 to 5 feet behind me the entire time. And I come out to the last entrance, where it's about a 5-minute walk to my house from that point. And I look back, and all I can see is the silhouette at that point in time, and I come out of the tree line. About the time I come out of the tree line, I realize there's no cars, so I start hauling butt as fast as I can. I look back at the tree line one last time, and this thing had to be at least 7.5, 8 foot. It was standing up on its hind legs. It had haunches like a dog, but it was all white. And I didn't really get a sense of fear from him the entire time.
Right.
But when I got a full glimpse of him, it kind of freaked me out. So I tried getting past this barbed wire fence and ended up ripping the crap out of a shirt and a pair of pants I had. And of course, they were brand new school clothes. And I get to where I'm just running. I get all the way back to my house quickly. I didn't get caught by the cops. I realized that if I get found out that I did rip some brand new clothes, my parents are going to kill me.
Right.
So I stuffed my clothes into the back of my closet as far as I could. Didn't give them a second thought. And then apparently I repressed or just didn't think about the encounter ever again until after I had the encounter with the Sasquatch. After I had the encounter with the Sasquatch, it was like I was thinking what else could be out there, and then whatever I was thinking else at that point, it was just like boom, a memory was triggered, and it started kind of weirding me out, freaking me out that did this really happen? I'm not 100% sure if it really happened, but why would I remember this?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you don't believe in these things. You don't, you're thinking, hey, it's a myth, a lore. You don't, not at that point of time back in the early 90s, no one was talking about Dogman. It was, the only thing in the woods was like Bigfoots or whatever, so yeah.
And crazy. Of course, it's weird because after the encounter with the Bigfoot, my mom goes and my mom's just running around doing an entire spring cleaning thing. And she's going from room to room, getting old clothes that don't fit anymore, getting trash or anything that doesn't belong in there. And she's rooting around in the very back of my closet. And this has been at least 5-6 years since I had the Dogman encounter. And I guess that to a point, I still wasn't 100% sure if I believed it until she pulled out the shirt and pants that was stuck way in the back of the closet. Because it literally ripped from the mid-thigh of the pant leg all the way up to the pocket.
Wow.
And she's like, why do you still have these? And I'm like, still have what? And she shows me the pants, and I'm like, where'd you find those? She goes, in the back of your closet with all the rest of the trash. I'm getting all this stuff out of here, like I told you to a month ago. I'm like, okay. And of course, then I start thinking to myself, holy crap, this really happened.
Yeah, it makes it all real to you at that point. Now, from where that incident occurred, proximity-wise, from your Sasquatch encounter, from this encounter, what are we talking in? Are we talking miles?
Yeah, the Sasquatch encounter would have been about, between the traffic flow, had been about 15 to 25 minutes away from my house. Okay. Where the Dogman encounter was literally, from where I first saw him, would have been a 5-minute walk to my house, because it was nothing but woods and an old cemetery. And now that entire section of woods is, on the outside of it is a convenience. There's a couple convenience stores and I can't remember the name of the thing. Like kind of like an animal shelter, and then the rest of it has been turned into houses. It's weird to be able to go out that area and find out that there's nothing. There's houses there now.
Yeah, the growth of it happens to me all the time, just going in my area. Yeah. So I mean that's pretty insane that it just right after you have your Sasquatch encounter, you then put things together that holy cow, there's something else out there besides what I saw this night and my dad made me burn my clothes.
Yeah,
That's
and
definitely
good.
no, I was just gonna say that definitely wakes you up and kind of makes you question everything at that point.
Oh yeah, and it's weird that I would repress something like the Dogman thing because I I don't know, it was an entirely different vibe compared to seeing that than compared to seeing the Sasquatch. But I didn't back into the Dogman.
Yeah, good thing.
All it did was follow me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Now I know you've got. This is not the same area that you were talking to me prior to. That you'd just seen something just recently.
No, I do part-time work in food service. So
Okay.
I deliver food. Um, Back in 2020 in October, I saw on the way back from a delivery, I'm pulling up to a road and I'm on the outskirts of town. And as I'm pulling up, I'm at the stop sign. I look and there's a field. Right next to the field, there's a little grove of trees. And on the outskirts of this town where I'm at, there's a neighborhood with about 30 to 40 houses that I'm just coming out of. I'm sitting at a stop sign. I look up and I see poking out of the tall grass what looks like a really big German Shepherd head. And I'm looking eye to eye with it, eye level, and I'm sitting in a truck. And we're just kind of staring each other down. And I'm really not 100% sure what I'm looking at to a point. Is I'm like, okay, well, this has got to be a dog. It's got to be standing on something. And then I'm realizing that it's can't be standing on something because it's too. And unless there's a hill or a little mound or something there, he's looking me dead in my eyes at eye level.
Wow.
And if it wasn't really for the fact that I started getting creeped out, I know a car was coming. I just kind of slowly pulled out and then hauled ass as fast as I could.
Right. Yeah.
The next day, I came back to the area during the day about noon just to see if I could see exactly maybe how tall, if I can get a jutting of how big this thing was. And it literally, when you go off the roadside, it literally drops down anywhere from half a foot to a foot and a half down.
Okay. So even if it
So
was on all fours, it's still huge. Or if it's standing in a lower section, it's obviously huge because it's seeing you eye to eye while you're in a truck.
yeah,
Huh.
and yeah, I'm like, holy crap, this thing was big. And of course, it hadn't. I didn't see it again until last month.
Okay.
And I'm coming back from my delivery, heading back to my store, and I see the damn thing again. Except I can literally see half of its body because the tall grass had been cut recently all the way down, but it was still sitting in the little grove of trees. And I don't know if it was the same one. It looked like it could have been the same one.
Right.
I don't know 100% sure.
Was it
I wasn't
standing?
going to get
Could
out
you?
and ask him.
Yeah, yeah. Could you see it standing on two, or was it standing on four? Could you make that out?
Yeah, it looked like it was standing on two
Okay.
because it was still seeing me eye to eye.
And it was looking like directly at you, like before.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. Huh.
and at that point in time, I hit my high beams and then hauled butt as fast as I could.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
And I
Now,
mean, it's just things like that make me nervous because the neighborhood is a kind of is got a lot of children in it,
Yeah.
a lot of pets, and it's weird that I know that they're closer to the edge of town, and there are a lot of woods out, and of course you got the Oakmulgee River and everything in the area, and it's I wouldn't think they would be that close to a neighborhood that size.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, but like you said, there's a river, and you and I had talked about this, and you know, about it possibly being the same one. And
Yeah,
you know, they are nomadic, but it's in a field. There's obviously some sort of shelter for it to be around. There's water. There's wildlife for it to hunt. So maybe, just maybe, it is the same one, and it's comfortable where it's at, which is scary. Like you said, there's kids, pets, families, and knowing what knowing what you've seen, it definitely must be kind of struggling in your head, like, what the heck, should I tell somebody? And I'd feel the same way. It's
yeah.
Now, you said this is on the outskirts of your town, so is this going close to where you had your Sasquatch encounter, or no?
Yes, this would actually be from that point. It would probably be maybe about a 10-minute drive to where I had the Sasquatch encounter.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I mean, it possibly could, like I said, it may very well be the same one. Um, because it's unless it's like a traveling pathway or an area for it to run through. Um, but it's really strange that you'd see this almost the same one looking at you, um, in the same area. So to me, just, and I'm not an expert in any shape or form, but to me, it seems like it probably may be the same one, and it's just comfortable where it's at. It's got what it needs, and it's not harming anybody, yet. Hopefully not.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a conflict, and I can see where you're coming from with the families and stuff. It's terrifying. So, and it's crazy too because it's not very far from either or encounters, I'm guessing. So probably, what if it's 10 minutes both ways from your Dogman encounter to your Bigfoot encounter, right?
yeah. It's 10 minutes away from where I had the encounter with the Bigfoot, which would make it make about a 15-minute drive to where I'm living now.
Right. Right. Now, are there woods? Because where you said you saw the first one, um, there's houses and stuff, or stores and stuff.
Yeah,
Is the cemetery still there?
the cemetery is still there. Yes,
Okay, good.
it's
Um,
been expanded and it's a pretty big cemetery now.
all right. Now, are there woods around that? Is there any? Because just a thought, but I'm wondering if maybe this thing that saw you in the very beginning, maybe it's the same one from back in the day, and it's just staying in this area. Would there be a way of that, if it was the same one, to travel?
No, I don't think it would be the same one because now you've got Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, and everything that's all around, and houses around the cemetery now.
No, but prior to that, was there woods all throughout that area?
At one point, there was a good portion of woods that was there, but that was still put even that section of woods that was there. Um, there was still a lot of construction going on at that point in time. They were building homes and neighborhoods at that point,
Okay.
but that would still be a good 15, 20 minutes through the heart of town, basically.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, just thinking maybe it got pushed out, and that's where it ended up.
Yeah,
It's not unheard of that they've ran through towns before. So I was just curious if there was a way of that one traveling, and maybe it just is kind of stuck there. But yeah, that's crazy. The whole thing that you had that encounter in the very beginning and you thought it was a dream, repressed memory, and then the Sasquatch one wakes you up, and then you realize, holy crap, I've got these clothes. That really did happen. You
Yeah.
know, did you ever share with your dad about that?
Yes, he knew about the Dogman encounter and the original Dogman encounter.
What was his take on that?
He asked me, are you sure it was, it looked like a werewolf? I'm like, well, yeah, it had the snout, Dad. And then he was literally, I'm not sure if he was, because he looked like he was thinking about it when I talked to him about the Dogman encounter.
Right.
But he was kind of gave that, something, skeptical a little bit.
Yeah.
When after I first told him about it, and then about a week later, after telling him about it, he was talking to a student of his, and the student said that they'd seen these things on the outside of the fencing near the base, on the back part of the base, near the back part of the base where the guy would go running, and he'd seen these things early in the morning on the opposite side of the fence. And he described it to my dad, and of course, the minute he described it to my dad's like, "This is exactly what my son said he saw."
Right. Yeah. So I mean that probably blew him away too, knowing, wow, there are
Yeah.
these things out there as well. Huh. Now, the base that you mentioned, is that close to you then or now?
Yes and yes. It's literally about 5-10 minutes down the road.
Okay. Huh. That's insane. Well, we know for a fact that all states have these creatures. Um, and the state of Georgia, as well as, a lot of the southern states have woods, warmer weather, all throughout the year. So it's an excellent place for these things to be year round. It seems definitely crazy. The fact that you ran into a Sasquatch is mind blowing to me. And I mean, just to have that memory of seeing that thing's face kind of contort is priceless, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I look back now and laugh because I see it didn't want to have anything really to do with me other than try to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, like what the hell is this thing doing? Why is it taking its face off?
And other than you, I've only shared this really with close friends and family because I've seen how people react to it, and even the people that believe me when I've told them, I find it hard to believe because it literally sounds like something you would make up.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like something that could really happen until it does.
Right. You don't think about these things happening until it does, exactly. And then sometimes it's too late. So,
Yeah. But then it completely turns your world upside down after it happens.
yeah. You either become fascinated with them or just completely dismiss it and shut down.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to really deal with, especially I mean, I had my encounter, but I could never imagine what mentally you have gone through, you know, finding out that you had a suppressed memory of one of these things when you were younger, only to have it come out when you ran into the Sasquatch, and then years later seeing something very similar to your first encounter twice in the same spot. I mean, it's very hard to bottle all that up in your head. I can imagine.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. I'm glad you shared it with us. I really am. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your channel, Jim, and I appreciate you because um, I've listened over the last um, 4 years. My family's gone through a lot of rough ups and downs, and of course, I found your channel at that point, and I've been a faithful follower and listener for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think before I shared the encounter with you the first time, my wife was like, "Are you going to ever share the encounter with anyone else?" And I'm like, "Well, there's only two people I would share the encounter with, and that would be you or Dark Waters."
Right.
Because I've heard other people share the encounters and why they might be entertaining. I've seen them and change things in the stories for their own benefit to try to build up their channels. Right. And where you and DW turn around and go straight with, you let the people tell their side of the story and everything, and you don't judge, you support everyone, and that's why I came to you first with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I said in the beginning, it's your platform right now to share your encounter. I might stop and ask a question just for my information, or to, if I think it may be pertinent for someone else to understand it. But I don't think coaching is a necessity when someone's sharing their encounter. I wasn't there, so I shouldn't have any say in how you share your encounter. And that's, you guys are what makes this channel. I just have a platform for you guys to share it with. And it's almost like a therapy session, for everybody, to listen to it. You sharing your encounter might help someone come on and share their encounter, or just deal with it better than, what before, at least they know, hey, this guy saw something. Wow. I don't want to share my encounter, but I know I'm not alone. So I think that's great. Well, we're coming up on time. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we end the interview?
Just the fact that I appreciate what you do for everything, and I love the channel to begin with.
I appreciate that. I really do.
I have been out to the spot where I've seen the Sasquatch. It's been about 10 years since I've been most recently.
Okay.
But last time I went out there was back in, I think it was July or August. Just to go out to the boat landing and see if I could see anything, because I'd seen the Sasquatch from afar a couple times after my initial encounter. Never anything aggressive, just I've seen him from afar.
Right.
But when I went out there this last time, it was like the entire vibe of the woods was just completely different, completely off. And unless I'm armed to the teeth at this point in time, I'm not setting foot back in those woods.
No, I can't blame you. And you did the smart thing, is you left. Your gut instinct said, hey, there's something not right here. Leave. And that's the thing that needs to be done. If you don't feel comfortable or safe or feel like you're being watched, it's time to go. And it's time to go very quickly. Even if you're armed, I think. Even if you're armed, because the chances of you coming out on top unarmed is probably 0 to 10. Like, you're not coming out. And even armed, I think you've got negative chances of coming out, because they're so fast. They're ambush predators, they're apex predators. There could be one in a tree above you and you wouldn't even know it, and not have time to even get a shot off. So, I feel like if anybody has that feeling, listen to your gut instinct, because your gut instinct is what's gonna keep you alive. So
exactly.
Right on. Jeff, it's been great having you on. Don't hang up when I end the interview.
Not a problem.
Thank you for coming on again, and I really appreciate it, my friend. Have a good
night.
night.
My pleasure.
All right, and happy Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Jeff.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Wow, I cannot even imagine what Jeff went through mentally when he turned around and saw that he was face to face with a Sasquatch. It's even crazier with the repressed memory of it with the Dogman. I'm really glad he came on and shared this. The first time he was on, he was more nervous than this time. You can definitely tell he was nervous. But I really, he's a really neat guy. I like Jeff. And the fact that his dad knew what the heck these things were and knew just burn your clothes. Let's clean the van, get rid of the seat, and move on with our life. That's insane. Insane. It just goes to show that, people that we think don't believe in these things do. I mean, I'm guessing that Jeff didn't think when he got home his dad would be like, "Hey, you saw one of these things, didn't you?" So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I want to thank everybody for all the support. You guys are what makes this channel special. And with that, I ask we all be kind to each other. And with that, farewell. And may the Great Spirit watch over all of us and keep us safe on our path through life.